Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
PBR Street Gang, this is all by standing by, over.
Hello, hello, hello. Let's go ahead and get the microphone check out of the way today, a little bit early here. Let me know if you can hear me across the various streams. We have quite a few going here. For those of you that are remoted into view because you cannot view in the public chats, go ahead and let me know if you can hear me okay. As well as the public streams here on YouTube and Twitch. If you are on Twitch and you can hear this, let me know as well. But also, I would advise that you head over to YouTube because that is the main chat that I watch. The particular streaming software that I'm using is not working well with the Twitch chat. So head on over into YouTube. You can find me at Landy's Crypto Corner. And it's the same stream. So go ahead and let me know if you can hear me across the various chats. And we're going to get started here in a little less than a minute. All right, got the music under control there. We're going to get started here in a little bit. Hello and welcome to Market Madness Technical Analysis Wednesdays live here on Landy's Crypto Corner. I am your host, Landy. And we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. We'll take a look at Dixie, gold, and traditional markets as well today. We might even do some alts a little bit later if you request any. We are going to, of course, start with Bitcoin as always. And we can see that Bitcoin has mean reverted to the basis band of the Bollinger Bands here on the daily. And that is currently coming in a little bit above 40,500. Now, this was at 40,500. The other day, and it did get tapped on. So the low here is coming in at around 40,550 actually. And the basis band is continuing to move up. Bitcoin mean reverting to the basis band is normal behavior after an expansive move like this. And realistically, because the lower first is above the prior low down here, at around this 36,800 area. What's the wick low there? 36,715. That's right. Because the lower first is above this low down here, this is an area that if the basis band is lost, that is a valid downside target that would still maintain this nice structure here. Now, of course, on a swing basis, we did have a low put in right at the highs here. We can see that from a swing chart basis that this low has been taken out after getting a bit of a lower high swing. So there is a bit of a downtrend here going on the daily, but let's not forget what's going on the weekly here. This is simply the first big, well, it's not even that big, the first bear candle of this particular move up, with the last higher low coming in at 26,500. And this is still above the upper first standard deviation on the weekly. That's coming in at 37,630 now. That's right around the 37.7 weekly. Let's go ahead and jump over to the Bitcoin in 60 seconds chart. And this has our support and resistance for the longer term timeframes, as well as a few key dailies. They're down below here. You can see there is that daily that was untested as support at 32.4 down here. But other than that, we're just looking at the monthlies and weeklies for the most part here. Now, when looking at the swing chart, you can see that we have the Bollinger Band volatility levels in some key areas to the upside and the downside. So to the upside, we can see the upper second standard deviation above these two weeklies and slightly above this monthly overhead at 45.5 or so. And that does mean if Bitcoin can regain these two weeklies here, specifically somewhere around this $31.8 to $32,000, or sorry, $41.8 to $42,000, then I would expect, and that would be on a close, by the way, then I would expect a move to the upper first at this weekly, which is coming right in line there at 42.3, 43.2 even. Man, I'm getting a little dyslexic today. Now, if that area is closed above, I would look right back to the highs somewhere around 44 to 44.5. Above there, the local high here of this particular move at $45,000, and then of course the monthly at 45.5. If we did see a breakout above there, I would look for a move to the next monthly at $47,000, and I would give it a bit of a range all the way up to the monthly swing high at 48,240 to around 48.5 or so. Now, if Bitcoin does lose this basis, there is support directly below at the weekly at around $39,000. And directly below, there is the monthly that was resistance prior to this move up or this extension up after the sideways and up consolidation. A little bit of a parabola going on here. And that is at 38.5. This would be a logical retest area as it was an area that was tested as resistance. And then, of course, once it was broken, we got a very big move up, a little bit of short-term resistance on the daily at the weekly areas here at around that 41.8 to 43.2, and then up and a try for the monthly. Now, this area did hold some support for just a moment on these two candles here, and then traded above for a couple days before just kind of nuking right back to the basis here, which is expected after getting a nice big move up, come back down, find some liquidity around the mean average, this being the basis band of the Bollinger Bands, which is a 20 simple moving average. Now, when looking below the monthly here, the big key area that I would be watching would be right by that lower first, which is right around this weekly at 37.7. Now, granted, this is coming in a little bit closer to 38K on the daily, and that is fine. Day over day, this is going to continue to move up as long as Bitcoin is trading above it, and in particular above the basis band of the Bollinger Band. So it's likely to head up to the monthly here at 38.5. And weekly at around $39,000 in the next couple of closures, provided Bitcoin can close above the basis or above these supports. Now, if this area is lost at around 37.7 and the lower first, I might have said upper first, my apologies. Upper first is up here by this weekly at 43.2. Lower first is by this weekly at 37.7. Now, if this is lost, I would look for short-term bounces around this area here by this low at around, we'll just call it $37,000. There was a wick slightly below down to that 36,715, but then we have the close coming in at 37,240, and then there's the top side candles up here in the mid to upper $37,000 right up against that weekly at 37.7. I would look for some short-term bounces around this area, but ultimately I would be looking for a move back to 36.2 to 3 around this weekly zone. Now, that is likely where the lower second standard deviation of the Bollinger Bands is going to end up in the next close or two. If that area is lost, we look down one more support zone to this monthly at $35,000. This would be a logical retest zone as well. It's a major time frame. It's also one of the major lows before the higher high of the prior bull market. And I would give it some room down to this spike low, right into liquidity. That was a perfect call when we had pointed this out, during this particular first part of the move up, that if we did see mean reversion back to the basis, that the basis to this monthly weekly area would be the target. We got that nearly to the penny on that weekly at 34,750 or so. And, the weekly is there at 34,758.67, and the wick low came in at 34,758.64. So you don't get much closer than that on an asset that's trading in the $30,000 region. That was a very nice move, a very nice call. And, that was not just me pointing this stuff out. There was many others that also pointed out that there's a big weekly there. It's above the monthly. price was above the monthly and the weekly, so it was a logical retest area. This wasn't anything really too crazy. So now the daily is, looking a little tired here, but we can see that much like what I've talked about in Dixie and traditional markets, that seeing these pullbacks and the decrease in volatility, in this case the BBWP, still is bullish in this case, as it is just mean reversion. Of course, if we do start to see Bitcoin get under the basis and down towards the daily lower first, it is still mean reversion in terms of price action, but we would see volatility drop very quickly. We see that volatility is dropping, but it is not below the moving average currently. Now, if it does get below the moving average, what we want to see is that moving average get a negative slope. And then we're looking at a little bit of price consolidation, and we can start to use the bands as a bias for where price is headed. Now, this is the weekly. I'm sorry, we're looking at the daily. My bad. But we'll get back to the weekly, and it's the same deal, right? It is not below the moving average. It is still likely biased to the upside, as long as it is above the basis, and expansion would still be in play in terms of price action within the wider set of the Bollinger Bands. Same goes for the daily. We do have this confirmed mean reversion play. It's already mean reverted back to the basis. If we do see volatility pick up in this case on the daily and get above the moving average, but the moving average does not, this is key, does not get a positive slope, then we are looking at the upper bands as being kind of a cap on price for a little while. And they will continue to head up as long as Bitcoin is above the basis, and especially if Bitcoin regains the upper first. But because volatility is so high, if we do see price trade back above the upper first, it's likely that the upper second to upper third area will become the cap on price until we see further compression or consolidation here on the Bollinger Bands, kind of how price was capped after this big move. Now, it did move to the upside, right? But it was testing around the upper second, upper third zone there. And it wasn't until we got that compression of the bands, that cool down in volatility while Bitcoin went sideways and up, in this case, above the basis and lower first standard deviation, that then we saw a nice compression and then re-expansion to the upside. I'd be looking for something along those lines. Whether or not it was a sideways and up consolidation really doesn't matter. It's more about the consolidation itself. And because we do see BBWP under the moving average, and the moving average is up around the 90 read, if we see volatility of price pick up, it's going to likely stay within the bands. It's very rare to see it, trend outside of the upper second standard deviation again, or even the lower second standard deviation again, until we see compression of the Bollinger Bands and cool down of BBWP. So I would be looking for a cap on price somewhere around that $45,500 monthly to $47,000 monthly if we did start to see the upper first on the daily regained, and that is at 43,150, so right around that weekly. And that weekly, of course, that we just talked about in the Bitcoin in 60 seconds chart with support and resistance is going to be the major area to watch to the upside, because above there on daily closes, and I would look for a run of the highs to that upper second around those two monthlies, 45.5 to 47, possibly even a run, probably on a wick basis if we don't see consolidation first, but a run to that wick high on the monthly at around that 48,240 area. So that is kind of the look right now. I'm not looking for immediate continuation to go and break that 48,240 right from here. I want to see some consolidation. I want to see some compression of the Bollinger Bands, a nice cool down of BBWP here on the daily, and then come back to it after that. And of course, as I've mentioned, that does not rule out making higher highs on this move. That just kind of sets my bias that there's a little bit of a cap on the move before we see some longer form consolidation. Now, this also does mean that if we get some sort of a violent move down through the basis and lower first, I wouldn't be looking for too much lower than this lower second. When the Bollinger Bands are spread out like this, the upper second and lower second are more likely to act as reversal zones than anything else. It's when we see compression and we're up against resistance like this overhead, where we see the closures outside of it, that I'm not necessarily looking for a reversal, but instead I'm looking for a break of that resistance in this case, and then expansion being that continuation, because the upper second and lower second will either act as a reversal zone or a continuation zone. When you see compression, it's highly likely that when you see closures outside of the upper second or lower second, that we are going to see continuation. And that is especially true if the closure outside of, like in this case, the upper second is also breaching overhead resistance. So then you're going to get continuation above that resistance plus expansion after a nice compression. Now to the downside over here, that would have been, a close below this low at around 35,750 on a closing basis, take out the wicks, so on and so forth, right into that support. So this is where you have to be careful, because if we did see closures outside of the lower second back here, just as an example, there's still support directly below. So you're looking for at minimum expansion into that support. And then if it breaks it, then you're looking at closures below the lower second, not only breaking that support, but also getting expansive continuation. In that case, it would have been to the downside, but we did see it to the upside. When you see Bollinger Bands expanded like this and price then goes and tests either the upper second or the lower second while it's still in the expansive phase like this, then those areas are much, much more likely to act as reversal zones. In this case, it would be a daily reversal zone for at minimum a bounce back to some of the overhead resistances, those supports that would have been lost in this case. Now that lower second is coming in at around 35.5, just above that monthly at $35,000, and that is a swing monthly close. So I would expect this area, if tested, to at minimum provide a nice daily bounce. And then we come back to it later and see what kind of structure it is creating. If there's lower highs, then we're looking to at least test the lows again and then possibly go back and see if it breaks the highs and changes structure. As it stands right now, this is a nice healthy correction, and I have no problem with this, and this is not bearish by any stretch of the imagination. Can it test down further? Absolutely. And it would still be bullish in this case. Now, weekly is the same thing. So as I mentioned in the weekly, it still is getting volatility expansion. Yes, we do see BBWP kind of lurching over a bit. That is not a big deal. And it's still above the moving average. Moving average still has a positive slope. And in this case, if we did see it get below the moving average, we would need to see at least, a close or two below there to even turn the moving average. So I actually prefer these kinds of setups. When you see a nice strong move to the upside, BBWP drops below the moving average doesn't get a negative slope, and then volatility picks back up. That's where we would see something along the lines of a move down to the upper first that then bounces back to the upper second, re-expanding volatility, possibly even getting above that upper second or testing around that area above it to the upper third. Now, that can even happen on a very sharp move back to the basis, and you can see that the weekly basis, as mentioned on Monday, is right around the 31.8 breakout area. And I'm going to bring this up every time because we do get new people all the time, so bear with me. This 31.8 area is a daily, weekly, and monthly swing closure. And this was the breakdown from the reaccumulation, Wyckoff reaccumulation back in 2021. So this was a big, big area. It was tested once, and then it was rejected. Now that area, of course, after being retested, it broke, including the daily slightly above it, which this daily is marked because when looking back in time, this was a daily redistribution area. So we saw highs come into this area after the big dump off through that monthly area, taking out these lows over here on a close. And then this was the rejected area that then led to the redistribution. So it was a little bit of a reaccumulation to redistribution. That is why that particular daily is marked. Of course, when looking at the weeklies just below that, we have the 30,300 over here and the 30,600 over here. These would be the key areas if we did see, for instance, a massive bit of mean reversion through that upper first and basis. I would be looking for wicks to come in around that weekly area. Of course, if it's lost, it's game on to the downside. But having two highs, I don't really foresee that as a big danger, especially for what's going on right now. Yes, it's the big red weekly candle to rule them all. Everybody's doomed. Every time we see a big red weekly candle, we get reversals. Look at this. Look at this. I've seen this everywhere, by the way. But let me remind you what happened coming off of the lows here. Big red weekly candle came down, bounced up, ran the highs again back here in 2019. Of course, it did then impulse down through that basis, lower first, and tap on the weekly lower second, and then reject the basis, come back down and start to close back below the lower second, pushing price down. It then mean reverted right back through to that overhead resistance, not closing above this wick high right here, and then big dump off. We had a weekly downtrend basically, and the criteria at the time was if it broke like 10,500 on a close, then we could look, for things to start heading up. But until we saw that, it was downside bias all the way. At minimum back to this low, and from there we look to for those that have been around for that long, we were looking back to this area here, which it did close above, to be fair, and then down to the high side of the actual bear market bottom, and that's actually what we ended up getting. Now, this was a daily downtrend. This was not by any stretch of the imagination a black swan. I disagree with anyone who says that it is or was. That is just simply not true. And this is not the same kind of look that we're getting here, at least not yet. This is an uptrend on the weekly. And it can mean revert hard even back to the lower first on the weekly and still be fine. I wouldn't want to see that. That would break some higher term time frame structure on the monthly and thus probably lead to lower highs on the weekly over time. But as it stands right now, things are fine. I'd be looking at the top side supports if we did see that upper first lost. And that is, around that weekly at 37.7. And there is still weekly supports and monthly supports below there to be watching if that were the case. So Bitcoin looks fine. One of the setups that I would be looking for here is one of my favorites. It's a compression on the 12-hour. And realistically, what we're looking for on the 12-hour here, when we see a compression like this of the Bollinger Bands, you might note that BBWP is in an expansive phase, but the Bollinger Bands are in a compression phase. So how do I decipher this? Well, very easy. We saw a run from the upper second, third area right back to the lower second area. Now, this is more likely to be a bouncy area. Why? Because it is well above supports. And even if it did start to close below the lower second here on the 12-hour, then we're looking back to a base of support somewhere around that monthly at 38.5 where these rejections are coming in. Now, that is, going to be a key thing to watch. So if we do start seeing the lows in particular lost, and the lower second standard deviation closed below while losing this low at 40,150, that's where I would start to look at the weekly at 39K to the monthly at 38.5 as being a viable target. Now, if we do see this close, this 12-hour candle here, which would be the daily close as well, but this would be the 12-hour candle closing above the lower first. If we do see that, and that would be at 41.8, which is, by the way, it's the weekly level. If we saw a closure above there in the 12-hour, our bias would be that this is going to come up and test the basis. The basis happens to be right here at this swing low at around 42,850 or so above there. And we would be looking right back to the upper first, which is coming in right around these wicks here at around $44,000. Well, isn't that interesting? That happens to be some of the daily closes up there. If we do start to see that area closed above, then we look right back to the highs somewhere around 44.5 to that $45,000 wick high by the upper second here. If we start to see closures on after compression like this above that high at $45,000 by the upper second, then we look for continuation to the monthly at 45.5, to the next monthly at 47, and possibly even the monthly swing high at 48.240 to 48.5. All right. This is a pretty simple setup, to be quite honest. If we do see a low put in here as well, there's a few things to look for on this 12-hour chart. It's going to give you a clue on the daily. If we start to see a low, it's a technical low is going to come in basically on any closes here or higher at 42.1 or so. But I personally would want to see a close above 42.350 or so, and especially above that basis. But you will see a low technically be called on most RSI indicators, even above, kind of where things are trading now. It might even throw a low above 41.5, 41.6 area at these close opens on the low or the wicks. It really depends on the indicator settings that you have. What I personally would want to see for a retest of that 44,850 to $43,000, possibly the weekly, the basis up here, and so on and so forth, to the upside for a bearish retest at first that could turn into a bullish reclaim. Well, I would want to see a 12-hour close above that 42,350. So that is what I'm going to be watching. Another thing to watch for here would be the momentum pivot, which currently is at 42,650 on the 12-hour. Now, if Bitcoin happens to close the 12-hour under there, this will still continue down, but it's likely that pivot, when you check it, as long as Bitcoin is above the 12-hour current swing low, is likely to be underneath the price action or right around price action. So this is something to keep an eye on coming into the daily close and could possibly provide a nice bounce to the upside. The 12-hour is a very powerful time frame. When we go down and look at the 4-hour even, we can see a nice little bit of reaccumulation here on the lows, and you see this order block right there. Well, that's at 42.1 to that 42,350. So this is going to be the key area to watch over the coming few 4-hour closes headed into the daily. And I still would give it the first part of tomorrow's daily candle for the 12-hour to see how this setup could possibly develop. And this is going to be a fun one, I think, because there is a lot of people that have become incredibly bearish, as if the weekly is not in a beautiful uptrend with the most recent higher low at 26,500. Now, obviously, if 26,500 on the weekly is violated, then we come back to it and we're probably looking at either a long form consolidation or possibly some more downside from there, but more likely a longer form consolidation, especially when we take into account the monthly. The monthly is freaking beautiful as it stands right now. One of the things that I will warn you about, though, just to kind of recap some of the things that we've been talking about over the course of, well, the past few months, and that is the upper second standard deviation here on the monthly, which is currently at 39,686. So if this is lost, this would be very reminiscent of, well, 2016. And this is all the way back here. So 2016, we did see a move above the upper second that then moved up to swing this high over here and even close above it. But then it came back down and tapped on that upper first standard deviation. I would be looking at a scenario like this. We had the lower high after the all-time high, came down, reaccumulated, found this area initially as the bottom side of this area as resistance. We did see expansion to the upside on the monthly, a nice close above to break this, and a swing high above, come down, swing low at the upper first. That is the type of scenario that I'd be looking for. So something along the lines of that doesn't, even have to get a higher high, but I'd be looking back to the upper first standard deviation, which right now is currently at $33,000. Now, this is likely at the end of the month. And of course, that's the end of the 2-month, end of the quarterly, end of the 6-month, yearly, so on and so forth, right? Well, I would expect that upper first to be somewhere around this low on a close, and that low on a close is the $35,000 level. I'm sorry, this is this low on a close at the $35,000 level. That is where the monthly is likely to end up. That monthly upper first, provided Bitcoin closes December above the upper first, and especially if it closes above the upper second. If this closes above the upper second, all pullbacks from here, this would be, this would be not only BBWP volatility confirmed, but upper second standard deviation Bollinger Band confirmation as well. That means that, from, this is not financial advice, but from a technical point of view, any pullbacks from there, really, no matter how deep they go, are going to likely be picked up by the market, and then things just resume with with their march to the upside here for Bitcoin, and likely alts to follow. Of course, a little less strong as Bitcoin really does begin its impulse if it starts to close above the upper second and march through this high here at 45.5, and especially that wick high at 48.240 to 48.5. Above there, of course, we're looking for a run to the all-time highs, probably a pit stops along the way around, 50, 55, 60, so on and so forth. But we'll cross that bridge, and when we get there, because of course it will get there over time. It's just a matter of what is the time frame. Right now, it is looking very good to keep heading up. So let's go ahead and take a look at Dixie. We're going to go back to the daily here. Let's follow up with Dixie here. Dixie is still struggling with that overhead resistance at 104.21, but this is a consolidation on the daily. Let's see what it's doing in terms of momentum. Momentum will turn against it on the daily, at least initially, not fully confirmed, at least until we saw a close over close, but this will only happen on any closes below 103.88. We do see that volatility remains fairly high, but this is compression of the Bollinger Bands. This was mean reversion, so this right now is going to do one of two things. If it drops this swing low by the lower first at 103.22, we're looking at a 103 tap down here to that lower second. Man, I held the cough for so long. I got through all of Bitcoin. Below there, I'm looking for an upper 102 run, somewhere around 102.75 to 80. And then below there, a retest of 102.5. If that is lost, we're looking at 102. If we do see the upper first breached, I'd look for a run of this 104.21 to the upper second at around 104.5, and possibly this overhead wick high here at this resistance at 104.55. If that is breached, I'd be looking for 105 to possibly get tagged, but it's likely going to end up a wick if it does it in a manner as I've just described. As it stands right now, it's more likely to go test this swing low around that 103.27 to that lower first there at 103.21. If that is lost, of course, we're looking probably somewhere around that lower second, upper 102 area to the actual low at 102.5. So that is what I am seeing on Dixie. This is likely going to, of course, as it stands right now, it's likely to get its cross down today. So that is something I would watch on Dixie. So I will continue on. We'll follow up longer term timeframes on Dixie on Friday's live stream. Let's go ahead and look at gold. Hey, look at gold. Held our ever important 1970 to 1980 region. So this low over here has been swung, and it even closed just under 1980, but 1980 was kind of the number that I wanted to see hold. Then I wanted to see it get a bounce. If it does start closing back above yesterday's rejected wick high at around 1996, I'd be looking for the close open next at 2004 to 2005. Any closes above there, and I'm looking for a retest of 2016 to that 2000 and 34 to 35 area, possibly even this swing above it at around 2040. If it does, breach that area, I would be looking for the next swing high over here at 2065, and then a retest of the highs at 2071 above there, the 2080 resistance, and then possibly fill out the wick up there if it can push on from there. Now, this was mean reversion on the daily here. Why am I not getting the bands showing up here on gold? That's very interesting. The volatility bands do not want to show up on gold right now. I've not seen that. Maybe if we switch to a different gold chart. Can we get the bands? Bands are loading. Okay, so let's go ahead and look here. This was from some of the important stuff that we were talking about before the move down to lower second and then compression to expansion. In this case, this was a lower first tap as well. You might remember that I was calling this out as being a likely area. We need to see it hold up if it gets there, because if it drops the low at around 1970 to 1965, then we're looking for a run back to the 1940 region, possibly deeper. As it stands right now, you can see the basis is just above this close open right here of these two bear candles at 2005. So any close above there around 2010, which is right there at the swing low. So a recovery of around 2010 would give me the bias of the upper first around the swing high at 2039 to 40 area. Above there, we're looking at, of course, that swing high that we just spoke about at 2035. Yeah, 2039. This would be 2050 bucks. I don't know what I was looking at there. And then above there, we'd be looking upper second, any closures above there, and that's 2060. We're looking for that high to get ran on a close open, that open being around that 2075, and then possibly try to fill out that wick a bit, come back to it later. And we're going to see momentum turn to the upside on any closes right now above 2030. If this puts in a low, you're going to see that number substantially drop, and then it's going to be game on to at least retest in a bearish manner. If we see bullish reclaims, then we're going to step our targets to the upside if you are trading this. Now, be aware that there's quite a few swing highs right around this swing low at that 2009, 2010 area. So we've got, quite a bit of resistance that gold is trying to push through right now. And then there's resistance directly above. So this is a big key area around that $2010. We've got three swing highs all in the same vicinity and then a swing low. And that's going to be something to watch on gold. But it is looking pretty good for gold right now, at least, as it stands for the daily. When we start looking at the weekly, we can see that this is pretty simple. It's, a regain of the upper first gives us the upper second as a viable target. And we'll revisit this on Friday to see kind of where things are and if it can possibly regain this upper first around 2004 to 2010, because this will adjust in real time. So, and then of course, if it does close the weekly above there, there is some weekly swings directly above. Obviously, the close is right there, 2006, with the high coming in at that 2009 area. There is also a closing high up here around 2016, and then there's the wick highs right there at the upper second around that 2050 to 60 area. So big area of overhead resistance, first pass rejection, and a strong one at that, to be quite honest. But, we got to see how things play out. Structurally, the weekly looks fine. And, if we start seeing it trade towards that upper second again, it's likely that the weekly gets a bullish reset as well. And that's currently at 2,055 bucks. So the daily is the thing to watch this week. And then we'll come back on Friday and check in on the weekly and higher time frames to kind of see where things are lining up. When looking at traditional markets, well, you can see that they're doing okay right there at the highs, pushing towards the areas that we've talked about for quite a long time. And this is so funny to watch all of those shorts starting to capitulate right at the highs. I mean, if you were going to even look for a short-term trade in the lower-term time frames, this is the area to do it. Now, of course, it does look as though we're going to see, I mentioned this already. We were looking for a run to the all-time high. That is what we're getting, 36 700. And now we're starting to see that area get ran today. And right above there, we're looking at 36 952.65 as the big area to beat, and that is the all-time high. And if we see that breached, it'd be 37.2 area, possibly even up to that upper third standard deviation, where we see that coming in at around 37.7 to 8. So that will oscillate in real time on the weekly with price. We see that the daily is also giving us right around that area, slightly lower, about a $300 discount, $200 to $300 discount on the upper third there. And we can see the upper second coming in right at the all-time high. So all-time high run, we might see a deviation initially. That would not be unexpected by any stretch of the imagination, but we've been talking about this for a while. This was definitely looking like it was going to be an all-time high run, and higher. Quite frankly, that is what I'm looking for. We can see that bullish reset of Stoke. Now, of course, this is a regular Stoke, not a Stoke RSI. I don't look at Stoke RSI because I have an RSI. I don't need to look at the Stoke RSI. In this case, I'm looking at a regular Stoke, which is close over close price action in terms of momentum. In this case, now the momentum pivot is at 36.570. We're likely to see this, continue to chase price very closely. But this was a beautiful bullish reset. We talked about this nice march above the upper first and just kind of consolidating between the upper first and upper second. We're seeing basically re-expansion of price. I'm not looking for like an impulsive move just yet. Maybe we see that if the all-time high breaks. But we are seeing volatility continue to pick up. If we start to see this close and the moving average get a positive slope again, it's just going to be more biased and it's going to run that all-time high. If it breaks, we look for maybe impulsive structure above there, but it would also have to be closing above the upper second and get a nice spread on the Bollinger Bands again. I do think this is just going to kind of stair-step its way up and grind it up and maybe throw a nice wick above it initially, and then we come back to it, kind of like what gold did. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to happen that way, but from the look of volatility, that's kind of what I'm seeing. And we're seeing the same general look on the NASDAQ here. It is a little bit further away from its all-time high, but this is well within the weeklies, the weekly look here in terms of compression to expansion, especially if we see the weekly close up here. Yeah, man, if we see the weekly close above 16,376 in this case, and it is trading slightly above there, we're looking right to where it's finding resistance now, obviously at 16,400, but we're looking to the next weekly realistically. If it can start closing above the upper second and daily starts to breach above this weekly rejection, I'd be looking for the 16.5 to 16.650 above there. Of course, it's 16.764 at the all-time high. We might as well mark that because that is going to be the next big area to watch. And then above there, generally all of the things that I just explained about Dow are going to be in play. And this is quite a bit stronger looking, quite honestly, than even Dow. Although Dow is a bit ahead of it in terms of the expansive structure. This looks as though it wants to tag the highs, the all-time high, and maybe substantially higher into the mid to maybe even deeper 17,000 area. If it can start closing above that upper second, we see that volatility is well and up, saying this is an expansive move to the upside. And as long as it is above, the basis, and in an expansive phase, it is going to be biased to go run that all-time high, and that's all the way down at 15,250, and especially closes above the upper first here at 15,800 to 16,000. Looks beautiful. Looks like it's going to keep getting continuation to go test that area and higher. Again, the 16,026 is the weekly pivot, but even that I'm not worried about. This is daily expansion just now kicking off. This is beautiful. Nice compression. This is where we see, it's a sideways and up look on Dow, but it's already kind of nearing its all-time high. Whereas here on NASDAQ, we can see that it's just now getting its expansion with that all-time high kind of being the big target up there at that 16,764, 765 area, as being the major target. So I'm looking for an all-time high run, possibly higher, maybe initial rejections around that area, wicks above, putting in a new all-time high, and then come back down and reevaluate, that kind of thing. If it just marches right on, if it just bulldozes its way on through, then, that's where the weekly really comes into play with that expansion. And we're probably looking at substantially higher prices on NASDAQ. And in this case, as long as the dailies are closing above this upper first standard deviation, which is right around these prior swing highs here at 16,150, I would even give it room down to the open here of the bear candle at 16,000. It's going to be fine. And, and the basis is coming in slightly below there. It's going to move up as well. Lower first is above this prior low. As we get expansion, we will see the bottom side deviations start to move down during that initial expansion, but I'd be looking for this to kind of really start getting rolling over the next few days here. Looks very good. Nice bullish. We called this out on Monday, and we were looking at this on Friday as well, kind of getting this nice move of the K over the D read, and then nice upward angle on the Stoke, and the momentum pivot is actually below some of the key areas I just pointed out. It's actually at 15.9, likely to move up to around 16,000. So in this case, beautiful. Oh, here we go. It's turning as the candle turns green. You're gonna see substantially larger moves in BBWP here. This is a confirmed expansion. This is not, even if we were to see an initial rejection, this is confirmed expansion. So I'm not even worried in my analysis of this. Upper second on the 2-day. If this starts to push the upper second or the all-time high, what we're going to see is BBWP is going to turn, and we're going to see re-expansion on the 2-day. Yeah, and that's going to really start looking like, the daily and weekly are going to really start to feed off of each other in terms of expansive structure. This looks beautiful as we are looking at it live. Hey, look, we hit our 465 target. Now we're into the 470 target zone. We're seeing the same look on SPY. Compression to re-expansion, closures above the upper second, here at 465, which we got that beautiful move to yesterday, 464.20. Gosh, 464.20. We got a beautiful move to the upper second, close above, expansion starting to kick off today. 470 is going to be the move. We're going to go out to the weekly just so that we can point out that this is an all-time high. This is an all-time high run. So, next big area in the weekly is 470. That is the opens up here. We've already talked about this many times, but for those of you that are new, from there we're looking to 476 and then 479 or 480 above there at the all-time high. You can see that this is not quite as compressed as NASDAQ on the weekly, as it did just kind of run from one side of the bands, the upper second, to the lower second, third area. Beautiful bounce. We still have not seen, by the way, if you're bearish on this, we haven't even seen the high put in. And when a high gets put in, we're looking for a higher low because it just broke the downtrend. That's your first thing that you look for. It would be very rare for things to run all the way back from this high. Doesn't mean that it's impossible. Right back to this low. The lower second isn't even there yet. But I'd be looking for this to make substantially a substantial run to that 470 area. Upper second's likely going to start twisting up that way midweek if this continues up on the daily. We're seeing expansion on the daily. We're going to see this on the 2-day as well. So 470 is going to be the next target. We hit our 465 target, and it got expansion off of that area. What a beautiful thing to be looking at here. And the bears are starting to capitulate around the highs because, you know, they didn't have all year to capitulate. You know, man, and that's likely going to push it to the highs. And then you're going to probably see hedging around the highs, and that's not unexpected. In fact, it would be a very rare thing to see no hedging going on, and even if it's a build-in position on the options side of things to hedge. You know, there's many different ways to build out the options contracts to hedge in traditional markets. So, you know, I wouldn't, you know, and if it starts to hit impulsive structure, you're going to see those hedges then dropped and then, you know, just moved higher. And it's looking like that is going to play. So anyway, that is traditional markets for you. We got through things fairly quickly, although I did spend quite a bit of time on Bitcoin, but we're under an hour for the analysis on Bitcoin Dixie. For those of you that are just joining now, we did Bitcoin, Dixie, gold, and now just finished up with traditional markets. I do want to now kick on the music so that I can look around the various chats and see what you guys are saying, and see if you have any questions about the analysis that we just did. And then we'll come back and see if we got some time for alts, if you have specific alts that you want me to look at, or stocks, if you want me to look at some stocks. Now, I do prefer that you not just give me random stuff that you're not really interested in. If you are interested in it, you know, that's what I want to be able to assist you with, or to give you my perspective on. So if you have an alt, please don't put like tons in a row, just one, or a stock. And then if we have time, you can always add some more. In this case, you know, let's go ahead and kick on the music to cover for me reading through the various chats. And, you know, we will get back to it. Let's do, we'll do Emerald. This is a decent song for when looking at Bitcoin here. Nice royalty-free song. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the chats. So I do have some private chats. Just so you guys know, I don't have any private paid groups. I don't have any exclusive access to talk to Landy. No, there's nothing like that. There is private chats going on because there are certain people who cannot access YouTube, Twitch, X, or any of those other platforms from where they are, and that being work in many cases. That's just because of the nature of the way that they gate the networks there. And they have a separate feed in to watch these streams. For those of you that are on YouTube, Twitter, and soon to be streaming live on X on these live streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you know, you're not missing out on anything. All right. The other thing I want to say about that is if you are on Twitter, I do suggest that you head on over to the YouTube stream, because that is the chat that I have access to. In my streaming software, it's the one that I can actually manage, so I don't really pay attention to the Twitch chat. You can find me in the link in the description on Twitch there. You can find the YouTube link, or you can go to YouTube and you can search Landy's Crypto Corner. That is LANDY' Crypto Corner, and you can find my page. You can click on the live stream. I do suggest that you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, and go ahead and like all the videos, because this is all free. This is free alpha for you. I don't have any paid stuff. I'm just doing this to help people out and help you learn markets, and specifically help people learn how to incorporate volatility into their trading, because it is the missing piece in almost all of the analysis that I see, even by the professionals. All right. So let me go ahead and yes, I'm getting a lot of bravo, keep preaching over there. And for those of you that don't know, I do train people for FINRA exams, specifically the Series 24 and 57. This is not something that I am offering to the public. This is only on the institutional side of things. Those are FINRA exams for individuals who are already in industry and need to get licensed. This is not something that this is not something you can approach me for and get, pay me to teach you. This means you'd have to be somebody who's already working somewhere that requires an exam. So that is not something that I publicly offer. There's plenty of free resources if you ever do want to look into that, though. But yes, that's your market maker exam. Yep, and your technical analysis exam. Basically, charts and regulations and best practices. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and look at the public chat here. Hello, Jedi, Bobby, Cheryl. Who else do we got here? We got Roka. Hello. Awesome. We've got quite a few others that are hanging out in the public chats here. If you would like to chat in the YouTube chat there, just go ahead and sub the channel. I do have that gated only because of spam. All right, Bobby, first thing right off the bat. What did Landy say, Bobby? One at a time, and he puts 2, of course. A little bit of a troll there. Thank you, Bobby. I do appreciate a good trolling every once in a while. All right, so everybody's saying hi. FOMC. Yep. I don't really care about what they're saying. The charts have everything we need. But if you do want me to check on what they're saying or what they're talking about, I can do that in a little bit. Jedi, so you only counter trade Kramer. Okay. Hey, I heard that there was a big bear capitulation who finally closed his shorts and admitted defeat, but that wasn't actually real. It was fake. Apparently that person's sticking to their guns with their $8,000 to $12,000 targets. That's fine. To each their own. I hope that they really are shorting, because that's beautiful liquidity up there if they are big enough. And there's trust me, there's people who will take advantage of that liquidity. Should you dislike just for fun? I mean, I prefer that you like the videos if you actually like them, but dislikes do help. It doesn't matter if it's a like or a dislike, believe it or not. It is engagement, and engagement is what matters. I do also suggest that you turn on the bell for notifications so you don't miss the Bitcoin in 60 seconds shorts videos, because the shorts feeds fill up so fast, particularly around the times that I'm uploading. Maybe I could pick better times, but quite frankly, I don't have the time personally to do so. And I want that to be the most up-to-date information. So I do suggest that you hit the bell for notifications on the channel so you know when I go live and or when I upload the Bitcoin in 60 seconds shorts videos. If you ever do miss them, just go to the main channel and click on the shorts feed. You can find them there, or you can find them on x.com at CryptoLandy. I do upload them there as well. FOMC, yep, FOMC stuff. I need to come up with something intelligent to say. I'm missing something. Gold gets I don't know what. Not quite picking up what you're talking about there with Jedi, but I think he was agreeing with some of what I was saying about gold. Okay. Sol. Okay, Cheryl's got Sol on the board there. Bobby trolling me with UOS and Naka. That's fine. Dislike the video for ultimate trolling. I mean, that's kind of a jerk move, but whatever. If you can look at what they say for the FOMC, I can. I mean, we could probably just look and see what they're doing. The interest rate decision is to keep it the same. That's what it is. They're not moving rates up. They're not moving rates down. That's why you're seeing what you're seeing. The market expected that. There's no such thing, sir, Jedi. I don't know what you're talking about with the uploads, but there's no such thing. There's no tick box for that. But that is a myth. YouTube handles all of the push notifications to you automatically if you have the setting on for notifications. That's user customized, not has nothing to do with my side of things. I get to upload the video and that's it. I get to upload the video and say, show it to people, King Algorithm. Am I categorized right? Did I have the right tags? Do I have interesting enough content for the YouTube algorithm? And you know, trading stuff has been deprioritized on YouTube for quite a while. The bigger channels then tend to consolidate viewers because they are the ones that are going to show up on the feeds. You've seen Crown grow a lot. You've seen MDX grow a lot. MDX, by the way, is he's been putting out fantastic information. If you're not following him, dude's been through the ringer, but he's not been through the ringer in the markets. And he's a brilliant and good person. I particularly like some of the shorts videos he's doing. So if you haven't seen his shorts videos, they're bangers, man, and they're not trading related. So let's see. Yeah, so all right, Bitcoin pushing to some of the areas that we just talked about on the daily. Next big area is that swing low up here, 48 or 42 rather, 850 or so. If it can push through 42 and a half, let's go down to the 4 hour and just see. Yep, push into this order block area and slightly above it. Yeah, we'll get on to some of those things here. So pushing slightly above that order block to the swing high there at that 42, 45, 465, 485. So basically 42,500. Above there, we're looking at 42,850. If it can break out above there, we're looking to 43.2. Just happens to be the weekly up here. Above there, the upper second standard deviation is at 43.5. So be aware of that. If it can break out above there, we're looking at the highs and higher. Let's go ahead and look at some S coins, as they say. Let's start out with Sol, because I do think Cheryl got that in first. And we had a nice pullback on Sol to the basis band. Go figure. Not unexpected by any stretch of the imagination. If it can trade back above a 69.67, then I would be looking for it to run right back to its local highs around 75 to 78 dollars. Now, this is where things kind of get a little tricky with Sol, because if it breaks out above 78, the next real big area is all the way up at 93, and we're talking about bigger areas. So this is going to be 93.31. Then above there, it starts taking chunks or legs up, in that case to the 115 area. Is there resistances in between? Absolutely, but this is going to be the big reclaim area at that 78.75. We see the weekly still looks very, very good. It's substantially above the upper first standard deviation, which is coming in at 55 bucks. So, you know, if it can regain the upper second standard deviation, I do think it starts to swing around that 78 bucks. If it can reclaim it, I think it's very likely it tests around where the current upper third standard deviation is on the weekly. I wouldn't necessarily be looking for it to like move right on through there. From the weekly perspective, it's not out of the question, but that's, you know, it's probably nearing the end of this current weekly move. And I would be looking for possibly a swing of this area and then come back down and see where it bases out, preferably above 50 bucks here, with the red line currently being you know, around that 45. Below there, it's diving back pretty deep on the weekly to its base of consolidation, but you want to see that this breakout area hold, and then a reclaim of these lows on the weekly. And as long as it's above the upper first at 55 bucks, it's fine to keep testing the upside. From the daily perspective, nice compression to expansion, and then mean reversion back to the basis. So, the expectation would be that this puts in a move above the upper first standard deviation at around 68.76. And then we start looking for a reclaim of the wick low prior to the breakdown on these candles here that got below the upper first. And that's going to be around $70. So above $70, I'd be looking for the wick high at 72 to 73, and then right back to the close open highs at around 75. And then possibly another move back into that, area between 75 and 78. You can call it 80 if you want, because it might even swing above that area. If it can close above the upper second, we would see expansion again, but I do want to note, just like Bitcoin, it's already showing signs of a bit of mean reversion, so you would want to see close over close above the upper first and preferably the upper second standard deviation. And then it's possible that then pushes up to, above like $80. We're probably looking at that 90 to 93 area, possibly even a swing above it. I'll be honest though, the weekly does look like it needs at least to consolidate, and that's where you get some really big price action on the dailies that kind of whip around. But I would want to see it at minimum a little bit of consolidation on the daily. Just going to the monthly really quick here, and you can see that it's only just now kind of testing that upper second. So I would be looking for mean reversion on the monthly, at least on a wick basis. And as long as it's above $60 on the monthly, which is the upper second that just populated, it's looking very strong to keep testing further up. And then below there, we've got the red line of death at $44, below $44, $45. Then we're looking back to the basis, which is somewhere around $30. This is likely going to start turning up. This is a 20 simple. It's only now being populated on Coinbase. Yes, there is longer charts, but it's going to be in the same position. So I would say that anything down there, again, $30 to $50 is an opportunity. If it starts diving lower than 30, then it's a long form, possibly death or consolidation, one of the two. But so far it looks fine. I would be careful around the highs though here, and just kind of keep an eye on. If you're not already positioned, I wouldn't be positioning on any kind of a break of the highs until you saw some consolidation above there, some recompression. The real compression was the trade down here when this compression kicked off and then hit those highs. That was your take profit zone, and then let it ride back down here. And then if you're a brave soul, you can play the mean reversion right back to the upside after mean reversion to the basis. And in this case, 76.88 is pressured down. 12 hours going to be something to watch. 72.57 coming into close today. If it does stick around the 69, nice. Then I would start to look at the 12 hour. Right now it's kind of the 4 hour that I would be keeping an eye on. Close above this last swing high, get above the basis, then we're looking at the 72 area around these two swing highs on the 4 hour. 4 hours looking to turn on any closes. It's already turned, but actually get like a full on good signal above 66.22 in the next 30 minutes or so. Doesn't mean anything unless it can close above this swing high at this would be 69.05, so almost 69 even. Gotta love the meme numbers. And then we can start entertaining moves into the 72 area or somewhere around there, even on the shorter term time frames. And then beyond, if it can get above there, then we're looking 75 again, somewhere around that upper first, upper second. If it can beat out these highs, we're looking right back to the overhead resistance. Hope that helps. Let's go ahead and look at UOS. Excuse me. UOS is not on my chart. It was. Here we go. We got KuCoin. The good old KuCoin. Nice move on the 4 hour, that's for sure. This is a nice downtrend break. This short-term downtrend after a nice long uptrend on the 4 hour here. Looks good. Let's look at the daily. Nice higher low that takes out the high on a close at minimum, but it's threatening to take out the wick high or the swing high in this case. So if it can close above 28 cents, it's looking good. Looking like it's going to run. My UOS bags that I've been freaking holding on to forever since the lows. Where were we? Yeah. It feels like forever. It actually has been, you know, it hasn't been that long, but it feels like forever. I did load up on the extreme move to the lower second on the weekly. This would be, you know, a break of the swing highs. It's a breakout on the weekly if it can maintain the weekly upper first at 21 cents. You know, I'm looking for, you know, 39 to 40 cents. You know, above there, we're looking to the next big area at around 50 cents on this swing high. And this is also a swing low area, as is the weekly below it. So there's a bunch of swing lows over here and swing highs. So if it can break out above 50 cents, I would be looking for a nice move up to around 75 to 80, possibly even 90 cents at this low up here. If it can break out from the weekly perspective, we are just now really starting to see those closures above the upper second standard deviation. It really does have to break these swings though, you know, 40 to 50 cents, these two swing areas. And as long as it's above 21 cents, it has the ability to do so or keep testing these areas. So I would just keep an eye on that zone right there. And preferably, you know, you want to see it breaking these two swings as well right here. There's kind of three swings in this area as well. There's this swing over here at, you know, 31 cents. There's a swing high at 33, almost 34 cents. Another one at 32. So if it can get above those, you know, you're looking at this, you know, headed up to that 40 to 50 cent area to test at minimum. I would take the high side of these swings. We'll take the median that just wicked off of there at 31.5 cents or so. So it's just kind of the median area to pay attention to. Now between 31 and 34 cents, we'll call it. If it can get through there, looking good. Upper first on the weekly, looking fine. Let's go to the daily real quick here. Now, it's a beautiful higher low structure. It is running that resistance on expansion. So after trending outside, one of my favorite things to do is look at resistance on expanded bands. It's at 98 over 98. This likely is, you know, if it doesn't just continue on through, it's likely to get tested some more, but I would be careful around this area. And if so, on the daily, if it does push through this area, I would be very careful around the 40 to 50 cent region from the daily perspective. So, you know, basically, even if you're going to get a lot of breakout buyers above there, that's likely going to get sold into. But I love the move up. The accumulation feels like it was ages ago. It was only September, but, you know, nice. The move down, higher low structure, impulse up, start changing that trend to go retest up higher. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You know, so again, as long as it's above 21 cents, you see that on the daily, you see that on the weekly as well. So the basis band, and that's the upper first on the weekly. So that is what I'd be paying attention to. You don't really want to see this daily swing low lost either. And that's coming in at 23 cents. So you can kind of give it a range, 23 to the basis there. You don't want to see that area lost down here. Hope that helps. You'll have to let me know if that was helpful, sir. All right, let's go ahead, and I will look at the other one because you weren't the only one that was interested in it. Oh, Ada's going ape because Charles needs to make some money. He knows he's going to get wrecked soon. No, but Ada was actually pretty primed. Naka USD T. Wait. Am I looking at the right thing? Not UAD. How about USD? That might help. We're just going to go for the trading view chart. Daily looks good. It's compressing on a big move up. Naka's been doing great. I think Naka hasn't really slowed down since the lows. Yeah, it's just been sideways and up. You know, this is likely It's testing the low over here. It's likely going to go make new highs in charted format, at least. Tested the 233 already. You know, the next swings are going to be the close open here at around $5 to the actual swings up here, the open of the chart. Now, once that area is taken out, it's price discovery from the charting perspective. I don't know what it was doing before then. I don't really care, quite honestly, as most that are going to be looking at this are going to be looking in that almost $6, $5.83 to $8. Above $8, it's price discovery. On the weekly, as long as it's above 151 on the weekly, it's looking beautiful. Hell, this thing could drop to 95 cents to $1, and it's still freaking bullish as hell. Yeah, man. I mean, that'd be a gift for those that want to accumulate. You know, below there, you're looking at 80 cents. Yeah, you're looking at 80 cents. Like, even 80 cents is freaking bullish as hell. From the longer term time frames, it looks beautiful. I did happen to pick some of this up on the way up. I believe it was somewhere around this mean reversion. Back here, we were looking at this in the very early goings as being a really big mover off the lows, if I remember correctly, from 2022 into 2023, and that January pump off the lows for Bitcoin. This was one of the biggest movers at the time, and I caught a nice mean reversion play on this for spot. I did not actively trade this, and breakout above 231. There's nothing but air, as they say. I mean, maybe some resistance around $3, so you can just kind of bracket the highs and lows here as these zones of interest. But this thing is bullish AF, as they say. Definitely an industry term there. So yeah, it's kind of what I'd be looking at. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, there are alts that I just buy and never even think about again until like we start topping out on Bitcoin. Yeah, a little bit of an alt season after that or before that, I might check on them. But yeah, right now it's ripping, man. Looks good. Let's go ahead and see. So above 151, like I said, let's compare that to the daily. That would be the lower second standard deviation. So even a test of 151 down here on the dailies, this wick high right here, you want that area to hold from the daily perspective to the close open structure down here. You can take the top side, you can take that high itself, doesn't matter. There's a zone there, call it 151 at the lower second to around 140. It's looking beautiful, like it wants to continue to the upside and test 231, possibly $3 up there over time. Beautiful compression on the highs, nice mean reversion back to the lower first, beautiful bounce. It's exactly what we want to see, quite honestly, in a nice bullish move. It regained this order block here. It's working on this guy here. Next big one would be the bullish order block, but those are usually going to be bullish. So right before the swing high and the move down. So yeah, this looks beautiful. So those are your areas of interest. I hope that one helps you as well. Let's see what else we got. ADA, we'll take a look at. I'm not really interested in doing a whole lot of. Yeah, it's going. It's not abnormal. It looks like it's going for its highs. Nice expansion here. I'd be careful around its current high, around 65. But if it does, break, this is a beautiful compression to expansion. Let's go for the longer version of the charts here, which is going to be KuCoin. Yeah, I mean, nice expansive move up, consolidation, expansive move up. When you're looking at this on the weekly, it's because there was that breakout back here at 45 cents or so. And that swing brings it to the next swing as the target, which is at 55 to 58. And then we've got this kind of zone right here that it's currently in, which was a major weekly swing rejection to that. I said I wasn't going to really chart it too much, but around 68 to 70 cents. I mean, this would be a logical area for a daily pullback, but looking above there, it's about 75 to 80 cents, and it's right around this really nice toppy distribution area here. I wouldn't be surprised to see it for it to go and just kind of go for it if it can regain around 69 cents even. So meme numbers, it does need to get past this consolidation up here, particularly above like $1.30. This thing's going to do really well. Or $1.25 would do really well. I would say that this is like the big zone just above price to be watching, and that's we're gonna kind of paint that up a little bit differently. So it is, you know, coming into some major resistances, so many swing lows in here just before $1, and then the big swing low to swing high rejection at $1.25. So I would keep an eye on, you know, the next big area if it can push through. On the weekly, it's confirmed expansion. So I mean, it's been consolidating for a while. I would not rule out this thing going for $1.25, maybe higher. You know, to the highs. Let's go ahead and look at AVAX. I see AVAX is in there. Let's see, AVAX. Are we on Binance here? We'll just go with Binance for now. Weekly breakout confirmed. It's even above this last lower high over here. It's gonna go for probably $55 if it can keep continuing on the weekly. Nice, beautiful expansion on the weekly. I would say, yeah. I mean, it's right around these swings and closes at around this 40 to. Well, there is a swing high all the way up here, but that's right around these lows. I would say $50 to $60 is next. You know, with specifically this low being the next big target on a swing at around 53 to the close at 64 or $65. There's two swings in this area, so you could take the lower swing as this swing's already kind of being reclaimed, as well as this high, but it's basically above $46. You're looking at the next leg, you know, to $50. Then to that 53 to 65. If it gets above there, we're looking to, you know, probably, this is a log scale chart on the weekly, so we're probably looking at like $100 shortly thereafter, pit stops in between on the daily. When looking at structure on the daily, it was an impulsive move up. This is, you know, it's looking like I would be careful. It's probably due for some mean reversion first, but you know, it's likely to test a little bit higher on any closes above the upper second at $40, and I would be looking at that upper third somewhere around $45, $46, and then 50 shortly thereafter. But I would be very careful around that resistance. I would be looking for some daily mean reversion soon. And when I say daily mean reversion, we're not talking about reversals. We're talking about just revert back to the mean, maybe cool down a little bit, maybe do some sideways consolidation, right? It's good to keep continuing up as long as it's trading above 33 to $35, which is today's wick low, I believe. $34 is today's wick low, so it's good to continue testing upside above there. If it does drop the upper first at around that area, I would be looking for the basis to get ran. So we're around $25, $26. Bulls would want to see that area hold up. They don't want to see, you know, any kind of mean reversion back below this consolidation before this current impulsive move up. This is an impulsive move up, so I mean, from the weekly perspective as well, it's impulsive. Above $33 in the upper is the upper second. You want to see it trading above there, get that weekly really rip roar into the upside. It's been beautiful so far. 2 week is following. 3 week is continuing. 4 week is going to be you know, already in continuation, and the monthly is ready to explode to the highs. So yeah, I mean, you might see new all-time highs on this stuff before Bitcoin even makes a new all-time high if these types of moves continue. But yeah, but $100 after that 65 range it's a big range, but you can see the leg up with volatility is going to really rip it into the upside if it can start recovering that $64-65 range. Yes, Bitcoin's probably looking at those. I mean, everything's looking really strong right now, so Bitcoin's looking good. It's beautiful. It's beating out that high, and we're testing right into the area that we spoke about, around 42,850. You know, about 42.9. Next big area is going to be 43.2. The weekly just above by the upper first on the daily. So much like we explained earlier in the stream, we're seeing it play out in real time. So nice, beautiful mean reversion back to the basis. Now you can see that if it can get above the upper first, the upper second is right there above the monthly. With the monthlies coming in at that 45.5, but the upper second, if Bitcoin can trade above the upper first, is likely going to be around 46,000. If it can get above it, I'd be looking for it to swing the next monthly at 47. And if it blasts on through that, we're looking at the upper third area around the monthly swing high at 48.240, 48.5 or so. And that's logical. I mean, just look at the monthly. This is not like any kind of like, oh my God, I'm so shocked. Like it's like so many seem to be. I know that those of you that are here are not shocked by any of this. This is pretty expected after reclaiming that 38,500 monthly. That was a big one. We did a lot of talking about that. Prior to that, what were we talking about? 35. So one step at a time. Look at that beautiful close open right at the weekly there. Whew. Pretty. Regain the basis, tap on the upper first. If we can regain that and the weekly at 43.2, then we can start looking at the 4-hour upper second, which is likely going to end up somewhere around 43.5 to 44K, depending on where Bitcoin is trading throughout the next 4-hour close. Looks really good. Yeah. Landy likes it. I like it. Hey, guess what? Traditional markets are doing what we said too, just a little while ago, going for the 470 target. And yeah, we're looking at. Oh, look at this. Look at Dow. Ooh, pretty. Hey, Dow made a new all-time high. Do you think that's bearish? Wow, look at how bearish this chart is. Boy, oh boy, can't wait for this low to get taken out. Then we're going to go for those dump off 2020 lows. Remember all those people? Where are they now? I want to do a Where Are They Now series. You're going to have to aggregate, all you guys in chat here are going to have to aggregate all of those really garbage takes. And we'll do a Where Are They Now? What are they saying now? So Dow's the first to do the all-time high. We're going to see NASDAQ and the rest follow. Almost 37,000. It's going to start trading like Bitcoin. Impulse right through 37 and go to 40. Yep. Yeah, where are they now series would be a really nice one to do. Hey, look at that. NASDAQ going for the all-time high. It's almost like we've talked about this just a little while ago. And in just about every stream since that bounce off the lower seconds. Yes. How beautiful. Nice little consolidation. Boom, up. And if it closes here, it's expansion. And we're looking at NASDAQ heading towards its all-time high, just like we talked about. Hey, look at that. We're headed to 470. We already got 470. We just need to push a little bit further for 470.89. And then it's basically 480s. The pit stop at maybe 476, but the all-time high 480s. In the cards, you know, we're probably looking at 500 points on this pretty soon. Yes, there's fib targets and stuff. We'll do that on Friday, though. I want to see how the weekly closes. Hey, please remember, Mr. Bobby, Landy called this one a while ago and was very passionate about it. And I expect this to continue for a while. So, for those of you that have been hanging out, you know, we called that traditional markets were gonna move back to their all-time highs, and more than likely higher, which Dow is a long time ago at this point. And you know, the nice bounce off of the key levels, the basis band on the daily for Bitcoin. If it can regain the weekly at 43.2, we're looking at a nice big beautiful move. Oh, that's ugly. Hold on. And you know, the highs are still well in play for Bitcoin to the monthlies above. Absolutely reasonable to be looking at that swing high monthly if Bitcoin especially can regain the upper first on the daily. So yeah, I agree. I think Landy was prepared for this, for our move, to wait a little bit later. No, well, maybe I'm misreading, but no, I mean, the criteria is to get above that order block on the 4 hour. It was going to go for our next target, right, that we were talking about earlier in the stream, prior to it happening, and that's 42,850. It already wicked above there. Its close open is right on the upper first, so that now if it can get above and begin to trade above in this 4 hour candle, then we are looking somewhere around that weekly at 43.2 to 43.5, 43.6. Above there, if it can recover the breakdown candle here, big dump off candle, full reclaim of that, and it's right back to 44 to 44.5, and then the wick high at 45 over here, and then the monthlies and so on and so forth. So now this, a run back to the highs is mean reversion on the daily as well. So it's reverting back to the mean on the daily after reverting to the mean basis. Then you're getting price mean reversion back to this, test this swing low. If it can regain it, you're looking at the close open there at 43,280 right there at the weekly at 43.2 or so. And then you're looking to the close opens at the highs at 44, 2 to 5, 45, and then the monthly at 45.5 to 46K or so, and then 47, 48 to 40 or so. Looks good. It's bullish as long as it's above the basis. Got nice, beautiful. This is what you want to see. 2 taps, maybe even 3 or 4. Doesn't really matter. 3 or 4 would be, it's starting to really compress quickly. We're still in an expanded state on the bands. We still have mean reversion in play. We already saw that happen, so it'd be revert back to the highs to test and possibly higher. Low being put in. Yep. So we got low on hidden bull div. I still would be careful around the highs, and it's likely to push higher if it can beat out those the closes up there at 44.2 to 5 or so. Then we can start looking at the SMA up here, and that's at $46,000. Go figure, that's where the upper second is likely headed. If we were to look, it'd still be throwing bear divs below this last high. This is coming in at, let's see, 81.5 read, so it would need to get to an 82 read. So let's go ahead and see what that number would be to avoid a local bear div. I mean, it would still be throwing a bear div from about the 84 read, almost 85, but we're looking at critical. We're looking at, holy crap, that's pushing the actual all-time high area at like $55,000 at the bull critical before even throwing a bear div. Maybe let's use this last local high as a criterion. Let's see, that's a little bit more local range, so we do want to see it get above there at minimum. What is that coming in at? 77, so it would need to minimum get a 78 to avoid the local bear div within its current impulsive structure. So that is a 78. That's what we need for that. And that is coming in at 50,500. I could be underestimating how far this could go on this current move then. At minimum, we got to see structure actually begin to build past the highs here. So next big area would be the upper second, if it can reclaim the upper first. So reclaim the weekly, we're looking to the highs again, basically. Take care, Jedi. Take care, Cheryl. Yeah, we're going to wrap this up anyway. For those that are joining in right now and are new to this channel, go ahead and sub. If you'd like to chat, come in and say hi. I do a stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. As long as time permits. And then there is Bitcoin in 60 seconds shorts videos, just about every day. They have become a little less frequent lately, as Bitcoin has primarily hung around the targets we've had. But there is definitely going to be one later today, considering the nice reclaim of the weekly here, at least in the lower term time frames. We still do need to see it close above 41.842 at this weekly down here to go and have the bias for that upper first weekly, if it doesn't just take it out all in one go here before close. And then the highs and higher. Beautiful. All right. Yep. Yeah, likes, subs help. It's all free info. You all have we're going to wrap this up. Yeah. Let's go ahead and set this for, we'll do some outro beats until around 12:15 my time, and I will let you guys go here. You have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe, and of course, as always, stay safe. For those of you in Twitch, head over to Landy's Crypto Corner on YouTube, give me a sub. That's where you're going to find the bulk of my content. It's also all archived, where on Twitch it is not. And definitely turn on the bell for notifications so you know when those Bitcoin in 60 seconds videos are uploaded. But yeah, thank you all for hanging out with me today. I hope you learned something. And I will have a Bitcoin in 60 seconds video most likely later today. And then I will be back to chat with you on Friday as we look at the longer term timeframes like the weekly closes on traditional markets specifically, and what to look for over the weekend with Bitcoin. So have a great one. Again, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you're in the world. Please trade safe, and of course, as always, stay safe. With all of that being said, Landy out.